I was sure of Kashmir Files touching the hearts of people. We should never forget that we make films for audiences. The connect of both the films of Kashmir Files and Kartikeya 2 is immense. One is the human tragedy of genocide, and the other is the philosophy of Krishna, that it's not a mythology, it's a reality. You can't tell the audiences that go and see the film because of this. How can that be possible? Losers think like that. Failure never affects me. If failure affected me, I would have not done 530 films. Boycott so-and-so went on for a long time. But if films were as brilliant as they think they should be, then I don't think it would have affected. Sometimes your past comes to haunt you. It's very important for a celebrity or for a person, what statements do we make? I have made some statements in the past that people still try and sort of remind me of that. So that has made me a cautious person, that I should not say something which later on, 10 years later, somebody can dig out and sort of throw it on my face.
If a normal tea seller can go on to become the Prime Minister of the biggest democracy in the world, then kuch bhi ho sakta hai. And if a person without any formal education can go on to become the greatest mathematician, that is Ramanujan, to kuch bhi ho sakta hai. And today we have someone with us who has created wonders through his films in 2022, Mr. Anupam Kher. Welcome, sir.
I like the analogy of kuch bhi ho sakta hai.
Yes.
My play starts with these kind of lines.
Yeah.
कि अगर एक बिना किसी अस्त्र शस्त्र के अगर एक धोती वाला देश को आज़ाद करा सकता है तो कुछ भी हो सकता है.
And that's what has happened, right? So with the two films that have released this year.
Kashmir I believe in the philosophy of कुछ भी हो सकता है for with anything in life. Not less. Few years back you came to interview me and I told you that I met you. I remember at that time you never would have thought that you are. I'm not praising myself, but in anything in life.
Right.
Whenever I do a FaceTime, I said, यार ये हम कैसे दूसरे की शक्ल कनाडा में देख रहे हैं, तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. No, I was sure of Kashmir Files touching the hearts of people because it's the truth. I was sure about Kartikeya 2 doing well because Kartikeya 1 was a big success. But for them to both become blockbusters, this is in the making, and that is now proved. There's always a sense of humbling experience. There's always triumph that you feel. Nikhil and Anupama are relatively, as compared to other Telugu stars, they're relatively newer people. I have a 15-minute role in the film, but it comes at a very crucial stage, and I speak about the philosophy of the film. But success is intoxicating, and failure makes you learn a lot of things. It teaches you so many things. I'm thrilled that my two films are blockbusters in 2022. I couldn't have asked for more than that. अगर मेरी दो फिल्में बॉक्स ऑफिस पर 8 महीने में ब्लॉकबस्टर हो सकती है तो कुछ भी हो सकता है.
But going by the sheer box office numbers, you are the biggest superstar today, right, sir?
I would like to endorse that.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you look at it then? How do you look at this phase?
I think we make films for. We should never forget that we make films for audiences. Anybody in any industry is manufacturing. It is for the consumers. It's for the people, and people you can relate to. If they don't relate to whatever you have made, then you are doomed. So I think the connect of both the films of Kashmir Files and Kartikeya 2 is immense. One is the human tragedy of genocide, and the other is the philosophy of Krishna, that it's not a mythology, it's a reality. Which I think we have been saying that, but to put it on the big screen and then to do it with a certain amount of grace and finesse and to do it on an international level, I think the animation is phenomenal in the film. And also it's a narrative which sort of works well. And also I think I personally attribute it to one very important reason, that in the last 2 years that we have gone through pandemic and that we have gone through lockdown, people have internalized a lot and people have changed somewhere. They have understood that this can happen in one day. We never had in 21st century, who thought that a small virus will make life miserable for everybody worldwide. It will affect worldwide. Who thought that we will be in our homes? So I think that has changed. People now relate to something which is more believable, which is more real, even if it is larger than life, even if it is big. But it has to. Entertainment is about to be able to laugh, to be able to get scared, to be able to cry. That's not, entertainment is not only laughter. And that is what I think has happened in the last 2 years. And that's why audience is reacting to certain section of, whether it's Gangubai, whether it is Kashmir Files, whether it is Pushpa, whether it is RRR, whether it is Bhool Bhulaiya is somewhere, I think, on a level it's really worked.
Right. So you spoke about the word narrative, and it has its own positive and negative connotation. There were a lot of people, there was a lot of noise with both the films, Kashmir Files and Kartikeya 2, that people were thinking there were narratives being built just to push the film out, okay, go and watch the film. With Kashmir Files it was more like a propaganda that was running around. With Kartikeya 2 they're just saying that अरे culture है इसके लिए थोड़ा Krishna के साथ है. How do you look at these
you can't tell the audiences that go and see the film because of this. How can that be possible? Losers think like that.
Okay.
People who have not done well, they will want to attribute it to some reason to feel better about it. If it has not worked, it has not worked because maybe the product was not great. And if that has happened, do you think the criticism of any individual or any piece of art has affected anything like that? Do you think it's happened for the first time? Do you think people did not sort of criticize? Why? So what is the success reason of Kashmir Files? Do you think there was no opposition for that? Constantly you use the word that people thought that it was a propaganda. What do critics do? Whether they speak in front of the camera or a piece of paper, they tell you whether you should see this film or not. But do you think people actually listen to that critic? They want to see the film, they want to see the film. Yes, it does affect a certain section of people. But then there is something called word of mouth. Suppose a critic had trashed, there are people who were given 1 star to Kashmir Files, there are people who had given 0 thing, people said this film should not be seen. But when people saw the film, they went out and they said, my God, this is something you have to see. The word of mouth is the biggest publicity that you can get for anything that you do.
But do these things as an actor affect you when there is so much critics?
It does not affect. Failure never affects me. If failure affected me, I would have not done 530 films. To me, what Krishna says in Kartikeya 2, Karm kiye ja phal ki ichha mat kar. We have to constantly keep doing work. We have to constantly keep on doing it. Failure to me is an event, never a person. It affects me when I have done something very good and it does not do well. Like I was very thrilled when I was working on the film called Accidental Prime Minister. But same people said that, oh, this is a propaganda film. I think over there they succeeded. They wrote trash and they wrote everything, and Anupam Kher is so and so, and he's made parody of it. I think it was my biggest tribute to Dr. Manmohan Singh to portray him without making it into a caricature. So criticism is not something which has happened today. It has happened with everybody. Do you think that the opposition leaders do not criticize each other? American presidential election happens, then the same party person criticizes the same person. But some people win, some people do not win. And people who do not win have to blame it to the system, have to blame it to do something like that. What else will they do?
So at the same time, you recently mentioned about, we can start n number of trends on social media. One of the trends that a lot of people, a lot of actors are now coming out and talking that, please don't go boycott films. There's a lot of hard work which goes on, not only from the actors, but there's a whole lot of big cast and crew which is involved in it. Do you think this is again an agenda which is probably being run across?
I think there is, of course, there is a lot of hard work that gone into thing, but that is not the reason that films have not flopped in the papaya. From day one, any film which has done very well or which has not done well, people do work on it. People in real life also study a lot and sometimes do not get required results.
Yeah.
So I think idea is to introspect that where am I going wrong or where are we going wrong.
Right.
No amount of trend can sort of change the audience's opinion.
Correct.
No amount of trends and things like that. And trends have every day you open your Twitter account, there are 10 things which are trending. Do you remember what was yesterday what trend was? Of course there is this boycott so and so went on for a long time. But if films were as brilliant as they think they should be, then I don't think it would have affected. But everybody goes through a lot of hard work. Everybody. And there are people who are... Do you think Kashmir Files people did not have 125 people working in the unit? They did not. We worked in absolute cold weather in Dehradun and Mussoorie in winters. Do you think that when people were writing about them, that they did not think about that, those people? Sometimes your past comes to haunt you. It's very important for a celebrity or for a person, what statements do we make? And I think it's important, and everybody has the freedom of expression. If I want to write in my social media anything about anybody, that's my right. If you have a right about something else, then you write.
Right. So you mentioned about the past haunting person. You'd already made this statement in the past, and a lot of people are taking in this connotation that you were talking about the co-stars that you worked with.
I'm not talking about anybody in particular, not at all. I'm just saying that I have made some statements in the past that people still try and sort of remind me of that. So that has made me a cautious person, that I should not say something which later on, 10 years later, somebody can dig out and sort of throw it on my face.
But that's a possibility, right? It can happen.
It can happen. No, of course it can happen.
Right.
Because social media is a great empowering media, but it also reminds you of what you have done in the past.
So lastly, I'd like to ask, you just said like a few hours back कि मेरी तो निकल पड़ी.
Yes.
So
मेरी तो निकल पड़ी. अब मतलब किसने सोचा था that at the age of 67 when I have done more than 525 films, I also always had this, being an educated actor, being an actor from a drama school, I always used to wonder why is in Hindi cinema this is the hero, this is the villain, and this is the character actor. This is rubbish. There are actors. I have survived these 530 films in 38 years because I am an educated actor. A lot of people have come and gone. So I think there is a certain amount of joy in thinking that ultimately it is the actor who has survived, and also the commercial this thing. But people do 20 crore business or 50 crore business, they are splashed all over the magazine. We are still reeling under that nonsense. But social media, if I have 20 million followers on Twitter, at least I can write what I want to do and back it up with facts.
Correct.
Otherwise the people can make fun of you, no?
Right.
So Meri To Nikal Padi is a very... And I have another film, hopefully, that also does well, is Suraj Barjatia's film.
Yeah.
If that
It
also
will take you to a
goes
new
on
ऊंचाई.
then तो फिर ऊंचाई फिर तो मैं अच्छा है, बट ऐसा नहीं है कि इसके बाद अगर नेक्स्ट ईयर मेरी कोई फिल्म भगवान करे चले तो मैं परेशान हो जाऊंगा. Life is beautiful. I think the fact that I have been able to work for 38 years is in itself is such an amazing, such a thankful to Almighty.
Right.
It's so giving.
Yeah.
But I don't want to ever look down upon on my audience.
Correct.
That's what is important.
Lastly, has your mom, who's Dulari ma'am, has she seen both the films, and what has been her reaction?
She has seen Kashmir Files 4 times.
Okay.
Kartikeya 2, because it was not released in Simla and my mom was there. I'm taking her tomorrow to that film. Yes, I told her. She was very surprised that she's a bigger star than I am in today's time in the social media.
Right.
So we were traveling yesterday together, and there are 2-3 people in the aircraft who came and told me, "आपकी Kartikeya 2 देखी, बड़ा अच्छा किया आपने." तो कहती क्या है ये? तो मैंने कहा एक फिल्म है, बड़ी अच्छी है, मैंने दिखाऊं, मैंने कृष्ण जी के बारे में. She's a Krishna devotee.
Yeah.
So I will show it to her.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my friends. This is Anupam Kher, and you are watching Showsha.